All right. Thanks for joining us tonight here at Lanes Raceway as we get ready to get underway with the kids' race here, under 18. Uh, we also got us a giveaway going on tonight, too, during the race. That our first place winner will be selecting from a hat randomly for Checkers Mobile. As Checkers went back to the North Pole, he decided he wanted to give the kids his car before he left. So we'll be doing that after this is over with. Of course, first place will also receive a free entry into our upcoming series, the GRC Truck Series here at Lanes Raceway that will only be ran on the oval track currently. And we'll see how those things go. As we see the kids are out there right now, they're practicing up, trying to get the rhythm down and stuff for the race to start here at 5 o'clock. So we're going to go to a bigger screen that you guys can watch. And I'll, of course, be back when the race starts, and we'll do some live commentation here and help you guys follow some of these kids around the track to see who's going to be in the lead and who might take second, who might take third. This, of course, race is going to be the first for Lanes Raceway here, 100% payout to these kiddos, as all these cars untouched. Uh, every one of them has stock gear ratios. You can't do any weight modifications. Uh, Only thing that can be done to these cars is the rear bushings be sorted in. But most of these kids are fresh out of the box, different types of bodies and stuff they got on them and stuff like that. But all NASCAR related style bodies. But we'll be underway here in about 30 minutes. And in the meantime, show us your support here with likes, loves, and you can also chat in the text as a community. If you like to see something here at Lanes Raceway, or you have a question, just of course put it in the chat box or comment in the section below. And just watch these kids hard at work. Is one of these guys or gals is going to come away with the first place tonight and feel pretty good about it. Have a little bit of track bucks to spend here at the raceway, and also have a free entry into the next series. But we'll be right back with you as we progress on, and you can watch these kids warm up. Okay, so it looks like everybody is past tech for this race. T's now currently getting everybody's names put into the system, and then we're going to get this race underway. Also, like I explained earlier, whoever wins this race is also going to draw for Checker's car. And if you haven't to that, you might want to let T know so she can get your name in the pot. Okay, so on green lane we have blue lane we have Carly L. Orange lane we have Cassie W. Purple lane we have Lane. Yellow lane we have Brandon D. Black lane we have Peyton M. White lane we have Callie W. And red lane we have Landon P. A quick overview of the rules for all the kids that are in the race. I just want to let you know that if you hit the red button and don't allow the track marshals to put your car back on, you'll basically lose a lap. So if you come off down there at the high bank corner and you hit that button and shut the track off, we're going to take your car from there and we're going to move it all the way back up here to the front, and you'll lose a lap. But if you leave it alone and let our track marshals do their job and hurry up and get your car put back on, they'll get it on as quick as they can. You'll just have to judge that for yourselves. T, when you give me the go ahead, we're going to start her up, okay? All right, everybody. Ed, I know you'd be here. I just now seen your message here. Ed Howe, everybody. He was here for our last Kids Day. You ready? All right, it seems like everybody's ready. We're fixing to get underway with the race. All right, here we go. Whitney Parker, good luck, kiddos. Yeah. Good luck, boys and girls. Karen Sooner Whitaker. Wishing these kids a good race. Everybody's got a good start off so far. Thanks, Ed. I picked this one out. I felt colorful today. Wife had me a blue one picked out, but I had a blue shirt underneath, and I decided, well, I'd rather have something a little more colorful. So we see Paul Woosley there, just reeling from previous season, getting what seems to be Clay B's car put back on there. Clay Brown, I believe is his name. Kids getting used to the button system here. So we're glad to have a race just for them. Everybody's running the same gear ratio tonight, 1028 or 29. All of them doing really well. You can see they're not really pushing as hard in the corners as some of our adults do. So we have a little bit of a breakout there on green. See Paul Woosley getting Marley's car put back on blue there. Just a little bit of a case of nerves, it seems, for some of these kids. I don't think any of these kids have raced with such competition before, as all of them have at least been in one or so race here at Lanes Raceway, but they tend to race with the calipers of our older group, Glenn Burden, Randy Kirtley, Paul Woosley, all those guys. So it's kind of refreshing to see these kids battling it out for who's the king amongst the kids. And I figured New Year baby, it kind of made sense. You get the kids in a New Year's race. And 100% payout, of course, tonight for these kids. So maybe they'll get them something really nice here, first, second, and third inside of the slot car shop. And also, first place going to receive a free entry into the GRC Truck Series. And of course, that's our highest payout purse style races here at Lanes Raceway, in which we'll stream those live, and all the points and stuff like that will be tallied up online on our website at lanesraceway.com. And then we have this little banquet at the end of the year, a little bit of tears to be shed, as you know, or at least I shed some last time. Broke me up whenever we was having our banquet, but I really do appreciate our racers, and I appreciate everybody that puts in the time to come out here and race and shows their dedication, and you know, puts in their artistic expression when it comes to whatever car it is that they're driving. It's like the driver and the car both become one, and you know, by the end of it, even the cars have rivals. As we head back racing here, we see the new car there of Peyton. He just bought that one fresh out of the shop, so you can see that these cars are relatively close. Hearing a little bit of rattle between some of those gears. Like I said, these cars are fresh out of the box, basically. There's nothing really done to them. So the quietness that you hear from like our pro class, where the guys get to strengthen their cars up and stuff, it's not present in these cars. As from the beginning, this is always meant to be a beginner class. It's meant to teach kids around this age, 18 and younger, pretty much how to race slot cars, how to work on their own cars. These cars can take a beating, they bend, they break, but you can put them back together pretty cheap, and you don't have to worry so much about cost as a factor in these type of cars compared to something like a Group 7 or Group 27 car, where the motor alone costs anywhere from $300 to $500. So, you know, these cars are very low cost early in. Thank you for that like. And of course, you don't have to require high-end controllers to run these either. So it all works out pretty well, and we sure are glad to see all these kids taking up an interest here in Livermore for slot car racing. Most of them haven't even ever seen a slot car before we opened up here, and we get that a lot about people just not knowing. They see RC cars a lot of the times, but slot car is something that kind of went to the wayside when computers came to be. But it seems like they're making a big comeback here, especially here recently with the big up craze in drag racing slot cars. It's kind of brought the spotlight back on to the circle track racing also, as bigger and bigger races are taking place in your bigger states like California, New York, and Chicago and stuff like that. Whereas a lot of the times where we get our parts for here in Kentucky. Of course, Kentucky's always had several slot car tracks, and we're just a part of that also since the very beginning, whenever I was a kid, having one down in Livermore. So we get somewhat of a pile up there again. A couple blue cars, Marley's car, and I believe Peyton's car got involved in that incident there. At Dead Man's Corner, you see my wife and Radical Randy Kirtley, our series champion for last series. They're helping track marshal tonight. This is very, very reminiscent of whenever we very first started a couple months back ago, whenever all of our adults, for the most part, not very many of them actually had ever raced on a tri-oval before, and its speed and I'll take my jacket off. I'm getting a little hot in here. For the speed of it and only having to let off in that one spot, sometimes you try to do that risk where you want to dive it in there super deep, and it's very reminiscent of that. Is we see quite a few wrecks happening down on Dead Man's Corner. I can assure you the track's not dry. I just sprayed it yesterday with medium glue mixture, so that should help these kids stay on. As we can see, for the most part, these kids are running a really good race. Just 8 wide is somewhat hard for these kids to wrap around their heads. But I mean, like I'm saying, it's fairly a decent race. Not quite as many wrecks as I've seen before. So we can also take a look at our total laps turned here. 46 laps there turned by Brennan. As he's one of the favorites here uh, when it comes to racing around his kid group. He's got a couple wins. Him and Marley both have had pretty good success early on in the GRCs, and they've actually raced against adults for that matter. Marley's got a couple names up on the board, and so does Brennan. Clay, of course, he comes in a lot of times with Brennan, and they're always over there tinkering and working on their cars. So they do take it serious when they can, and try their best to have the most competitive car out there. Talked to Brennan earlier this week, and he was quite interested in wanting to get into the series and stuff, and he definitely does have a good rhythm, as we seen him last night or the night before. Yeah, it was last night. Last night, our GRC Oval race, he was in that, and he ended up taking home the win for that. So he got a little bit of practice last night also, which helped. As we come to a red flag stop there, the end of our first rotation, we'll take just a quick look here at the track mate just to see how things are going. And we can see that Brennan, of course, is out in the lead there with 52 laps. But close behind Clay there with 47. Lane also very close with 46. Starts falling off just a little bit towards the middle of the field there with Landon and Callie, 43, 41. And then the back end of the field, 39, 34, and 32 of Peyton, Marley, and Cassie. But still well within a good margin here within 20 laps. Beginner's numbers there, that's pretty decent. As even our pros have a hard time keeping it within 10 laps total, as you guys seen in our pro class that we run here. And a lot of it just has to do with the randomness of how many wrecks take place and whether or not you're involved in them. So anything can change, especially in the next 4 heats or so. We're going to start seeing a little bit of a change, but not much for the most part. So we see all the kids, their dads, their family, their moms, helping them out, trying to teach them the way of the slot car, maybe get a little oil in between their bushings and clean out them tires. The more effort you put into it, the cleaner you keep your car, the better it'll run. Make sure it ain't bent. Make sure the braids are in good condition. We see Brennan, of course, over there in the top right of your screen. He's got him a soda pop, but I think him and Peyton and Clay, all 3 of them guys just teaming up, exchanging words, maybe trying to figure out what's the best way to work on their car.
We have 42 entries.
42 entries. My wife just tells me we have 42 entries for Checker's car, and we'll show you what the car is. So here's what we're giving away.
You have until the end of the race to enter.
Yep, end of the race to enter, because at the end of the race, whoever the winner is, we're going to let him draw out of a Lanes Raceway hat, and we'll see who that'll be. 37 seconds before we go back green. Now, of course, this being a kids' race and all, if they need a little bit more time, we'll pause the track. Another one of our favorites there that's won a couple races and placed quite a few times there, Peyton.
They need a clip on.
Okay. Yeah, Peyton, he frequents this place. Get a few more of these guys coming in here. But Landon there in the blue shirt, the Bass Pro Shop there tonight, he's also another one that's quite an aggressive racer. Not only that, but he can flat turn some pretty good lap times. He's actually placed pretty close up with some of the adults racing, and when he's on, he's on. I'll just put it that way. We had said it before. He was using an old Kofa controller when he first started. He didn't know if he was going to like it or not. And I said, well, it's a good controller to get started with. You can also drag race with it and stuff too. Just don't hook the brake up. So it was a good beginner controller with him. He's now stepped his game up to a DeFalco controller. And by doing so, he's learning some of the kinks in and out of it. And I think he's doing well with it. He's able to actually drive the car a little bit deeper. I think he's trying to figure out that perfect threshold. But like I said, Landon, very, very competitive when it comes to the GRC racing. What? What's going on? One moment, I'll be right back with you. I'm going to take you to the big oval cam here, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, back to the live stream here. Had a little bit of an issue with the drag strip. It's one of the lights wasn't on the drag strip. A few of them thought that the power wasn't working. So went out there and just made sure that everything was working. Back in the race, we see Brennan here with the median lap time of 2:55. Now changed to 2:26, very close with Clay. As we see pretty much everybody from Landon up is in the 2-second category there. Marley down there at the bottom with a 2:34. Very, very competitive times here. If she can keep it on in black and purple, she'll make quite a few laps this time, probably surpassing Brennan, Clay, and Lane. Well, maybe not Lane because Lane's on black, but as we know, down low, less track to run, you could be quite a bit faster. So get just a little bit too high of a carrying speed there by Marley through the dead man's corner. We had just a little bit of a tilt out there involving Callie and also Clay Brown there. Back under green racing here, we see a little bit of a cluster up down there with Marley and Clay and all of them. So we get Marley's car somewhat struggling to get put back on purple. So we had several cars to come off here and a track call. Unknown whether or not it was by one of our racers or if it was by my wife. I believe it was possibly by my wife. Like I said, the rules state that if a track marshal hits the track, cars can go back on where they're at, but if someone hits the track call, our track marshals are supposed to do their due diligence and ask who hit it, and then the cars, of course, get put back on after the lap. If we get several more cars taken off there in dead man's corner, just aggressive launching out of the exit of dead man's corner can somewhat cause these cars just to lift up out of the track. Like I said, they are very high center of gravity type cars, not really sucked into the ground too much. You can somewhat negate this a little bit if you press your braids down a little bit tighter, but for the most part, it's just sheer trigger control. Probably too much sensitivity in some of the controllers that these kids are using. A bunch of these kids are used to using some of the rental controllers or full brake 4-ohm controllers. as the brake's very, very aggressive, and just maybe getting a little bit of that smoothness, learning their new controller and stuff, we're having these issues here. The breakout currently is set at 1.3 seconds, which is about midway through what our median times are. Nobody should actually hit that, but if you do get two riders on the car, more than likely you will break out. We haven't had that happen yet, but we did have it happen earlier in a race this morning during a private event, where several laps got turned, about 7 or 8 of them actually, before it finally got clicked off. Several people, car even coming off the track there, several wiping out there at the end of Dead Man's Corner there. Kids are having a great time though, so if they're having a good time, we're having a good time. So we see Paul Woosley there being able to get them cars put back on the track there. Well, that's something you don't see every day. Incident taking place on the high banks. Paul Woosley grabbing a car to see if the nose is good on it. Getting Lane's car put back on black there. We see Callie's car there on the white lane. She's come here and she's raced a few times with her sister, and they always enjoy their time here. I think she kind of looks there a little bit nervous as there's so many people racing, but she's doing just fine. Actually, she's doing more than just fine. She's probably staying on the most out of anybody, as she's kind of taking somewhat of a nice cavalier speed, just cruising through the town. And it seems to be somewhat working with her, as she's not too far behind the rest of the crowd. It might actually see her in cases of the lower lanes actually make quite a few lanes up, as she'll be less likely to come completely out of the track. Cassie narrowly being able to miss that wreck there on the high side of the crook of the track, involving 3 racers, Callie, Peyton, and Marley in that incident. So everybody seems to be loving to cluster up there in Dead Man's Corner. And so we get another little tilt out, as we possibly have a bend on one of the cars that keeps this tilting out just a little bit. Could be a little bit over trigger possibly. But really putting the hands of Randy Kirtley to the test as he does his best to get these cars put on. He's probably got the quickest track hands in the biz, really. Gave him a good nickname. He didn't really care for it too much during the season, but I think it fit him well. It felt like he had like 8 arms at one time. Called him Octopus Hands, or Octopus Arms Randy Kirtley. But I think he might be seating into his new nickname, Radical Randy. As we got him in a picture a couple weeks ago, him and Paul Woosley with their hats turned around backwards, wearing flannel shirts. I seen a post on the internet. I can't remember who it was by, but it was quite hilarious. It was Beetlejuice. And yeah, I mean, Beetlejuice was wearing the same shirt. And I thought it was quite funny. But yeah, that's why he got the nickname Radical Randy. He turned that hat around backwards like he was in the movie Over the Top, Sylvester Stallone. I mean, I knew it was on. He meant business that day. Doing another lane rotation here. We can see up there in the top of your left screen 53 average laps, 48.5, 48, 44, 41, down to 32. So like I said, within 20 laps of each other still yet. So very, very respectful for these kids, as they're just now in a full-fledged 8-person wide race, not coming off as much as we've seen before. So like I said, these kids are doing better than their adult counterparts in the beginning. So that lets you know kids are our future for sure. These kids can definitely put in a little bit extra time, and they'll probably come out here and start beating on these old men that are trying to just hang on to a little bit of their childhood. My wife over here kind of laughing at me, but it is true. As you get older, you just lose everything. You lose your sight, you lose your reflexes. But these kids, they're just now, yeah, your mind. Uh, these kids are just now coming into their own. Their reflexes are on point. They got energy like you would not believe. And like I said, doing really well for a kids race for sure. All these kids are. In the third heat here, hope everybody's having a good holiday season here. I know we had a great Christmas, me and my wife. We spent it all with our family and everything. Hope you all had a great Christmas too. Let's see what it looks like this Livermore night. All the snow's gone. It pretty much all left in one night as it hit up 60 or so degrees outside and just melted everything away. But there for a couple of days it was quite cold. We had the chickens in the garage. I mean, they made it. Trust me, the roosters kept me up for about 3 or 4 nights in a row. I thought I was about to go insane, to be honest. Heading back to the oval can, we got about 23 seconds left to go. It seems like kids are getting their cars back on and getting their stuff in order. We see Clay in a dead sprint to get his back on. Like I said, these kids got energy.
That's how many people. So that's what most kids.
It's half of that. Yep. My wife's tallying up what the kids will be getting here. When she gets it all tallied up, we'll take a quick look here. $30.10, I think. As we go back green racing here, we see some nice smooth hands there pass from Glenn Burden to Randy Kirtley. So we get a little bit of a scratchy gear there on one of the cars. But that car, maybe a rider on red, yep, has that big popping noise you've seen. You can see here the blacked out in the lap here. See if I can get my mouse right here, this blacked out area in the top left of your screen. That means they broke out. It means 2 cars went across the line in succession quick enough, faster than 1.3 seconds, causing a breakout, meaning they didn't get their lap counted for the second car. But the first car, they did get that lap counted. So that's pretty good. As we head back green racing here, we see Callie now there on red lane as she just had to witness that breakout on her lane. Several of these cars just ripping and roaring, going as hard as they can. You see these, I mean, looking like they're adult counterparts, just with skill and a little bit of panache, only having somewhat of an issue there towards the exit of Dead Man's Corner, which is very, very hard to get that kind of skill under control, especially in the lower lanes, as each one of these lanes require you to step it down or up depending on which way you're going in the track. But like I said, these kids are doing a phenomenal job when it comes to sticking into this track. And I would put their skills up with some of our adult class for sure. Seems like Marley's car there on black's having just a little bit of trouble staying in there at Dead Man's Corner. Possibly a little bit of a bend in the wheel, maybe. I'm not out there to be able to tell. Might take a look at the car after the heat's over with just to see if maybe one of the wheels are touching. Try to help the kids when you can, if you can, and see. Hey, Mike, you doing anything right now?
Giving her her phone, that's it.
Next time that track shuts off, can you look at this car here on black, this blue car, and see if it's bent, like the wheels are even?
What number is it?
Well, watch it here in the next heat here. So we see it going around, watch it, it'll try to pop out right here. It's that one right
Which
there.
color is he? What lane is he on?
On black. It's doing pretty good now. It might just be my eyes. I thought maybe it was just trying to pop out. Mike's going to take a quick look at it or bring it over here. Let me see. Nose was bent down a little bit. So the nose was bent down a little bit. The guide flag was quite a little bit loose, so it's causing it to dig in down there at Dead Man's Corner. Hopefully that can fix it a little bit and help it to stay in. At the end of the day, though, it's just a hobby. Everybody's just trying to have a good time, having fun, and we want these kids to have the best experience that they can, and we want all of them to be able to race competitively and neck and neck for sure. So a lot of times they just don't know how to tech their cars yet. They try and put in the work the best that they can, and I mean, well, I think you can see it that for the most part these cars are doing quite well. 35 laps of Brennan, 10 seconds above Lane, or 10 laps above Lane. I'm gonna have to do a small change here as we've timed out on my side. Get this back up and running here. All right, good. Well, we can see over here in your top left screen, Brendan here with 142 with a median of 2.29, running quite aggressively there on White Lane. Lane there in second position at 2.22. His best lap actually pretty impressive of 1.99. Marley's best lap also very impressive of a 1.96. 2.22 median also. As we see all these kids relatively in the low twos here on average. Cassie there, just enjoying her time out there on Red Lane, as Cassie just loves driving a car, and she's been known to just like to drive it like she's driving in town. So Cassie's having a good time too there. Don't let those numbers fool you. I've seen her smile a few times out there. Landon P, you can see him starting to climb up a little bit with 45 total laps turned, the most so far in this heat. And Clay there, right there on the precipice between the two. Can Landon be able to close this gap between them? Still unknown at this moment, but we do see Clay turning in some pretty aggressive times also with 2.23. Landon currently with the highest median lap of 2.18. Probably getting those nerves chilled out as he looks very cavalier with one hand in his hoodie and showing everybody this ain't his first time out on a racetrack. Representing the Lanes Raceway ball cap too, he's looking really good out there. So keep an eye out there for Landon for sure, as he's going to definitely be one of the top runners, as he's one of the guys that has the most experience being in races here in this GRC race. Lane, you guys might know him from the couple drag races we've had live stream. I think he's been in at least one of those. And very, very good reaction time for sure. Every time I see Lane, I'm like, you want to get the light tonight? Because I think he's got the light 3 times. So Lane's doing really well. So we get a red flag and another rotation, turning into our third heat end. Take a quick look here at the track mate here. We can see Brennan there with an average of 52.3, 3 or so laps ahead of everybody else on average. Everybody else in the 40s for the most part, 31.3 down there at Cassie, as she enjoys driving around town in her car for sure. But within a respectable range for the kids group for sure. Every one of these kids doing quite well for their age group. Martha there with 121 there towards the back side, having a little bit of issues with her car on the Dead Man's Corner. I've seen her completely obliterate everybody here, so some nights you have a car set up the way you want and it works good, and then other times the car can give you trouble. This is a racer's nightmare sometimes, but like I said, Mar's still hanging in there, and she still has 5 heats left to go to come back up and fight these boys for sure. And We got a minute and 42 before we roll into the next heat. But like I said, keep your eyes on these kiddos as we move into the oval cam just to see if they're working on their cars. We see Brennan up there still drinking him a nice lemonade here at Lanes Raceway. He does like the lemonades. He's like my brother. Every time my brother comes in here, he calls them road lemonades. He's got to get him a lemonade for the road. So Brennan, Clay, and Peyton up there. I'm going to have to call them the Three Musketeers up there, working on their cars together, exchanging information, trying their best to be as fast as they can. I'm sure the adrenaline is rushing for these kids for sure. It's a very high stress scenario for sure. Butterflies get you. But like I said, I think all these kids are really holding it together. When the lights go green, you're seeing different kids out there for sure as we see every one of them focus in and they're able to race neck and neck, grouping up quite often. And wrecks are happening in places that are kind of abnormal. So that lets me know that they are racing each other somewhat clean. 25 seconds left to go. Going to head back over here so you can see where they're going next. Brennan, of course, will be on red this heat. Peyton on white. Cassie on green. Lane on orange. Callie on blue. Marley on yellow. Landon on purple. And Clay on black. I'll bring your attention back to Landon as he was doing so well on blue lane that maybe keep an eye on him for these lower lanes. If he can keep it on, he's definitely going to start trying to climb up the ranks here as he's down on the lower portions of the track. Thank you for that like. All these kids tonight will be racing for total entry. Every one of these kids got in for $10. And first place will be getting $40, half of that. Second place will be getting 30%. And third place will be getting 20%. So that'd be 24 and 16. So first place will be getting 40. Second place will be getting 24. And third place will be getting 16. So these kids are pretty much running tonight for, they could probably almost get them an on-sale car for that kind of money. Robert LaFoon, good luck. Yes, good luck to all of them. Every one of them out here really racing hard. We see still yet everybody in the 2-second range. Of course, it was 2 to 3 seconds at the beginning. Now it seems like everybody's kind of got the rhythm down, anywhere from very low 2s all the way up to 2.8 on the higher section of the lanes where Peyton's at. But everybody's within 2 seconds here tonight on average. And of course, the hard-hitting area, which gets everybody when they first begin, trying to get the rhythm down, the end of Dead Man's Corner up there, where you see most of the track marshals. The reason the most of them are there, thank you for that like. The reason the most of them are there is just simply because they know that's where the cars come off at. And then sometimes you accidentally get your hand, like you just seen there, Randy Kirtley's hand just barely got involved with one of the cars. And that air is pushing around these thin bodies so much that if you just barely let them graze your hand, they're coming out of the track. Track marshals being able to get those cars back on. Looked like we had a rider, quick hands Paul Woosley there, snagged that car right out of the sky and got him off that before we heard a breakout noise. Shows you how close our pros are watching this race. These guys are used to the NASCAR series where these cars are going twice as fast as this around this track. So they're able to watch these GRCs with little to no problem whatsoever. Paul Woosley, Randy Kirtley, of course, finishing in the upper parts of our points. in our series. We just have a car just kind of bounce out of its lane there. This can take place if you have your sensitivity set too high and you got a full bore on the takeoff. If your tires are hooking up really well, they will pop out of the lane, especially on a bank like that. Paul Woosley taking a quick look there at the car to see if the nose was bent up. Looks like he had to bend her down just a smidge there for Peyton. Like I said, these chassis are brass. They're going to bend real easy, but at the same time, they're not going to break real easy either because it's real soft metal. That's the whole purpose of it. You got this soft metal; it bends real easy, but it doesn't. It's not brittle. It can be bent over and over and over and over and over again without ripping. The harder steel chassis takes a lot more to bend them, but when they bend a few times, they'll break and split right down the center of them. So. Got another little car there just kind of just tilting out there at the crook of the track. Could be issues with sensitivity possibly. Michael Hazlip here behind me.
Can you put this on the books?
Yeah, I got you, Mike.
I'm gonna go let her know
Mike, he helps out here, helps track marshal. He's helped out quite a few times here. He actually helped us level and straighten up the drag strip. We was having a little bit of issue with it. Me, him, and Randy Kirtley got down on our hands and knees and put these working bones together to get it as straight as we could and screwed back in. And ever since then, it's been running quite well. We even put that big old toilet bowl up. Let's see if we can go to a bigger screen. Maybe you can see it here. But in the top right of your screen, just behind Worm there, where you see Michael currently standing in the top right, right behind them, you see that big old white foam and stuff at the end of the drag strip. We put that up to catch the cars. So there's a pillow in that. The cars hit that and it keeps them from getting bent. So we do appreciate Mike around here and all the hard work he puts in to keep this place like his own, you know. We see somewhat of a come up there on that purple lane, Landon being able to make the pass, but giving it right back to Clay as we see Landon was able to escape out of that. Clay kind of under somewhat of the pressure, kind of tilted out a little bit there towards the end of Dead Man's Corner. But what a nice little exchange we seen there between the two. Good racing taking place. That little bit of a squeal you heard there was a squeal of somebody's gear. Being too aggressive on the takeoff can cause your gears to strip out. It's always best as we see the car kind of just leak out there at high banks of the corner. Paul Woosley going to reach down there and grab that. I believe that to be Peyton's car there on white. As he sends it down there, Peyton sends her on into the wall down there. We also see Marley's car coming off there towards the crook of the track. Also Lane's car. More cars there involved as we go to a middle of the pack rotation here. We'll take a quick look at the track mates and do a little bit of comparison like we do in the series racing here. We see Brennan here on red lane, currently turning the most laps on red. Brennan being our leader, also turning the most laps there on white. See if there's anything that, Marley got real close with him there on yellow. He turned 52 and she turned 51. But so far, Brennan not been touched as so far when it comes to being able to turn the most laps in each one of his lanes. So from this point forward, to be able to combat that, you're almost going to have to see Clay or Landon possibly pick up the speed just a little bit, increase their average in these next four heats. And you'll have to see Brennan maybe get involved in a little bit more of incidents and stuff to lower his averages. Brennan is just really on it tonight. Brennan told me before he comes tonight that he was expecting to get that dub. And Brennan, very, very competitive. Reminds me of me and my brother when we were younger. And I'll tell you what, for one thing I know for a fact, when you got that kind of dedication and you got that kind of moxie in you, I guess, it's kind of something hard to take away from yourself, especially whenever you get a first couple heats really, really well like he did. So Brennan is definitely the guy to beat tonight. So we got a minute and 24 seconds left to go. Just keep your eyes out on these guys. We'll actually go over there real quick, and you could possibly take a look and see if Brennan is working as diligently on his car as he should be. And you can see him in the top right up there, right below the NASCAR sign, that he is. He is working on that car. And, you know, that's what gets wins at the end of the day. Are you putting in more time? Are you putting in more effort? And some of these kids really have a passion for this for sure. And Brennan is definitely one of them. 50 seconds left to go. I'm going to take a small break, and I'll be right back with you. All right. We're going down to the lights here. My wife's getting ready for the drag race that's fixing to take place here tonight at 6:30. So if you're interested in coming in and doing some drag racing, we have a drag race going on tonight at 6:30. Here at Lanes Raceway, we don't really, it's kind of like our circle track race, and we're just here having a good time, having a hobby, everybody getting together, learning from each other and stuff like that. If you do have a more serious type aspect when it comes to racing, whether it be drag racing or circle track racing, for the most part, drag racing, I believe it is, there in Central City, a friend of ours, Jimmy Phelps, actually has a track that he runs, and they do definitely take it serious down there. So if you're looking to get into some more serious type bracket racing, join him. I know he has races on Tuesday nights and on Saturday nights, and definitely give him a look up for sure. Papa is wanting to know how Landon is doing. Well, currently Landon is in third place, and he's trying to reel in second place right now. He has really come into his own just in the past couple of heats, really turning in some quite impressive skill type races here. If you were able to see him like I'm able to see him, he's got one hand in his hoodie and the other hand on that controller, and I mean just eyes of determination. As his confidence level is skyrocketing right now, he's definitely keeping his car on and in good contact. As we can see here right now, with a median lap time of 2.0, he's the fastest car out there right now currently. Callie is in a close second to him there on purple with 2.19, but when it comes to the best lap turned, he is holding that down with a 1.98 right now. Landon's wire broke. Okay, so this just in, my wife just tells me that Landon's wire just broke, but Randy Kirtley's fixing it for him. But like I said, hopefully this don't break his concentration, as Landon has been moving up the field since the beginning. He had to run some of his higher lanes there at first, and of course it didn't look good as we was having so many wrecks early on. And this could be the reason why he's in third instead of second right now, as right at the beginning he was involved in quite a few incidents. All these kids trying to get their bearings about them and stuff. A lot of these kids not ever racing as hard as they have been with this many people before. So they were all trying to get that under their belt. But like I said, Landon, about midway through, about 2 or 3 heats back, really started coming into his own and really getting some really good consecutive runs. And like I said, he's got it down within 13 laps to the leader right now. He's just hoping that Brennan has some bad luck like he did on the top. If that could happen, it is very much attainable to gain that amount and possibly get first place here. The second place is definitely within the grasp between him and Clay. So all these kids are really fighting hard out here. I mean, the competition is some of the best I've seen really when it comes to skill level here. All these kids are in the 2 second median range here. Every single one of them. Of course, Cassie is it. She's out there having a good time with her sister, and everybody else just loves being around people. She takes it kind of like how my wife takes it, just having a good time. But everybody else seems to be very much pitting themselves against one another, trying their best to get in those top three positions. Like I said, all these kids very, very, very close to one another for what we've been seeing here just tonight. Peyton there on Red Lane suffering early on. Him and Marley both having issues coming out on Dead Man's Corner. Could be possible bent issues from being involved in some early on wrecks. Could be just a little bit of over-aggression there on the trigger. Really can't tell you because I'm seeing basically what you're seeing. I'm looking at a little bitty monitor here with these cars going around in a circle. Trying my best to see. So I took a look at Marley's car early on, about 2 heats ago, and I was noticing it was kind of looking like she was ramping out of the track. So I kind of thought maybe that she was coming around the corner and one of her tires was hitting. So I wanted to take a look at that. But Peyton, for the most part, he's got a brand new car. That thing was pretty level whenever it was coming out and heading straight in a straight line towards the wall. So that was just over aggression for the most part. So we get back racing here. 3 cars involved in that incident. Speaking of Peyton, I believe that's his car there, the blue and the red, as he came into a little bit of contact there with a car coming out through the crook of the track. Matt Green Racing, we got a yellow flag called there. The orange or the green car did not move that, so that'd be Brennan and Marley. We'll see what happens here, if maybe that was just a fluke or not. Here's the man of the hour over here. I don't know if he wants to say anything to his fans, but Worm over here, he's just to the left of my screen here. You know, he's been getting them dubs in the drag racing. Maybe one of you guys want to come down here and put him to the test, but he's been on point here the past couple weekends for sure. Him and his boy both, actually. So head back Green Racing, we see a little bit of a cluster up on the bottom 3 lanes there. Kind of cleared itself out as we see Landon there really pushing forward, charging hard there on Black Lane. Landon being able to escape those wrecks there up on the upper part, really packing it in for Black Lane. Landon actually known for running really well down low, and he is definitely showing out tonight there on Black Lane. Look at that fast best lap there, 1.93, about a tenth of a second faster than anybody else, and on average 2 seconds, about 1.7 tenths of a second faster than anybody else. This is definitely going to gain him some laps if he can keep that car on and not have it come out. Landon's car moving quite quick as he's able to keep the loose rear end of his car under control. If anybody lets you know in racing loose is fast, that is definitely surely true, even in this kind of racing. You just don't want it to step out too much, but you want to definitely be freed up when you're coming in and coming out of that corner. But you want to, as Randy Kirtley's finger kind of gets involved there with Landon's car, quickly gets his car put back on. Not much loss there, about a quarter of a lap possibly. But like I said, that car is definitely moving fast. As we see another bit of a cluster up, Landon actually doing a little bit of a brake move there to try to give a little bit of leeway to his counterpart there, Callie, on purple. Callie pushed the issue, and it was a little bit too late for Landon to do another brake job there. So the back end of his car kind of got involved with Callie. But him and Callie back and forth there on purple and black. But he's able to overdo it there, doing a nice, beautiful coast there into black. Really, you can't do much better than that even in a pro class. So I've seen people drive that black lane before, and this is exactly what it looks like when you see the professional caliper of racers run that black lane. So Landon's definitely got black lane dialed in, and we can see that for sure as he's turning 44 laps here, 45. So he's actually currently turning the most laps, 1 lap over Brennan currently. And giving a run for Brennan here as he's trying to reel Brennan in the best he can with 8 seconds left to go as he kind of pops out there on the lane. So Clay now dropping into 3rd place with quite a bit of cushion between him and Lane. Lane currently on the upper lanes as we got 3 more heats to go. This should change here shortly when Lane comes out of white. He's going to go to red. Of course, he's going to lose a little bit of laps there, but then he'll move into green and I believe finish up on blue. So Lane should be able to capture a few more laps there, but here in the next couple, he's just going to start dropping down. Let's get a little bit of a squeal there and we heard Marley there yell out she was in a dead spot. Sometimes hard for our track marshals to see that, but Marley did get a nice coast there towards the end of that heat there on red. So we take a quick look over here at TrackMate. Let's take a quick look at that black lane that was just ran by Landon, and we can see he is tied with Clay for 53 laps turned there. The difference here between him and Clay is not too much, but we can see Landon took a loss there on green to Clay, but then he got it back there with blue, got 4 more laps on Clay there on blue. Also, we see Landon there with 56 laps to Clay's 50 there, so that gave him a little bit of boost. This is most likely the reason why that Landon took over Clay, as we see Clay and Landon both turning 53 laps respectively there on black. Those are going to be definitely hard to beat. We'll see if Brennan is able to inch that out and be able to overcome that 53 laps in black. If Brennan does overcome that 53, or at least tie that 53, to be pretty much in the bag for Brennan at this point. But if not, we're looking at 9 laps difference between him and Landon is on the hunt for sure, a shark in the water. So Brennan shouldn't go to sleep yet, as we see Landon there nipping at his heels for sure. We go back to the oval cam just to see who's working on cars and who isn't. We see the man we just got done talking about going through your screen there in the high banks. That'd be Landon himself. He kind of disappeared off the screen there. He might be trying to cool his motor off. I don't know, but he's definitely focused in. I'm not going to go out there and ruin any of these kids' focus trying to get them in an interview or nothing like that. These kids are working hard out there, and I'll tell you what, it's good to see these kids in such a high competitive mode. Landon, him and his mom painted that body. It's I think it's a General Lee makeup or markup of a NASCAR there, and it's quite an impressive car for sure, as he loves racing it. I think he seen one that Bo had, and he wanted to have him one too, and he had him one. So see him there looking at his controller, possibly messing with the sensitivity a little bit, getting that pro hand there in his hoodie. And I say this to racers all the time too. If you get, it's kind of like free throws. Once you figure out how to shoot free throws, you don't need to change from the way you shoot free throws. Well, we see Landon here. He throws that hand in that pocket and he gets to racing, and he's definitely focusing in there. So it's good to see that he's getting him a good rhythm down and not trying to change too much up. And that'll definitely go good for him in the next few heats, as him and Brennan are going to be next to each other. Definitely the two we're going to mainly focus on in this upcoming heat. We got Landon on yellow and Brendan on blue. So we'll see what happens here as we get 2 cars here not taking off. Possible missed connections with their controllers, not hooked up, or someone's in the dead zone. Looks like the orange car of Clay is in the dead zone. Yeah, that's what it is pretty much. As we go back green racing, trying to get my eyes here peeled on yellow. We see Landon almost coming out there in the high banks of the corner there. But right there behind him, we see Brennan there on blue trying to reel him in. Will Landon let that happen, or will Landon pick up the pace? We don't know yet. But Brennan is gaining a little bit on him there in blue. But then it's just like the incident takes place, and this is causing both of them to be right there next to each other. So we got one car there not properly in its position. I believe that would be Clay's that's in the yellow lane. Or well, maybe I was mistaken. My eyes are fooling me. I've got a little bit of cross-eyed going on here. Okay, so we see Randy Curley's got him a car there something might possibly be loose in one of the cars. It seems to be Landon's car again, which is neck and neck there with Brennan on blue. And definitely, let's move to a bigger camera view here and see what we can see what's going on. We see Randy there working on the rear end, maybe of the car. No, it's the front end of the car. So possibly a guide flag issue. We'll stay in this, and I'll keep you updated with the laps if they change. Currently, right now, Landon 2.14, Brennan a 2.13. But we run back around this lap here, and we see that Brennan's car come off, costing him a lap there. And then we see that Landon and Brennan both coming into contact with one another. What's that, buddy? Yeah, 1 second, okay? Yeah, you have to give me a minute, okay? As we get another yellow flag here called out, we got several cars involved in this incident. We see Landon up there on yellow with 269.
He doesn't like to share.
Said there, don't take this red wire and clip it to this and start to go through the installation. Just let it dangle. Just don't let it get involved. And so basically hook this up and let that go to the side. Or you can take that loose. Anyway, just start clipping to that. You end up ripping with it. All right. First time was at this place today for a birthday party, and the fun my son and I was a blast. These guys are awesome. Good luck to all the racers tonight. Well, we appreciate that, Brian, and of course we always love having birthday parties here, and we sure enjoyed having y'all's company here. I hope y'all had a good time running y'all's race today. But we see Brennan and we see Landon there, neck and neck there, yellow and blue on the front stretch of the track there. A squill of a gear there. Landon trying to reel in Brennan. Brennan just a little bit ahead as Brennan's car somewhat freed up more than Landon's. Possibly a weight issue too with the way that Landon's car is possibly painted. But that weight from the paint is possibly why Landon's car is a little bit more hugged to the ground, as there's quite a bit more weight to that body versus Brennan's. So not too much of a difference there in coast, but just a little bit. Brennan currently turning 2.13, Landon 2.14. Both of these guys very, very, very competitive. It looks like Brennan has been involved in a couple wrecks, though, there on blue. 290, 286 to Landon. Thank you for that like. As we go back green here, it's definitely a race between these two and could boil down to the wire with these two also. So we see Paul Woosley there getting a quick look at the car, making sure everything's good and flat on it. Paul Woosley would definitely know if the car is in good shape or not. I trust his hand. I trust Randy Kirtley's hand for sure, keeping all these kids good and straightened up. And that looks to be Clay, our current third place right now, Clay's car. So definitely needs to have a good car running there as Clay wants to try to reel Landon back in on yellow. Landon making some daring moves there on the outside there as he's able to come through Dead Man's Corner a little bit better. Him and Brennan both neck and neck still. We get a stalled car there. Landon barely able to shave through. As Brennan was able to have to brake there for a cluster as both him and Landon were involved in an incident together. 4 laps separating these two, and 9 laps separating third from second. And we get another yellow flag there. Landon now currently out ahead of Brennan just by a little bit. We'll see if Brennan's going to be able to reel him in. Brennan making a real good dive there on blue. Landon making a very aggressive pass there on Cassie. As we get Landon kind of slowing up, then getting Ryder there on red. Landon trying his best to go ahead and let Brennan pass, but then he got on it just a little bit too quick and ended up causing an incident. But, I mean, these kids are learning, you know. It definitely wasn't intentional, as I just seen it in the stream there. He was just literally trying to be a good buddy and let him go by. And nerves are high, I'm sure, for these kiddos, as they're really racing hard. We see Landon there just trying to keep Brennan in his sight there as we get a red lap rotation. They pretty much ended on the same lap there. We'll take a quick look here at the track mate here. And we'll see Landon there was able to turn 53 laps on black. On yellow, he turned 55. He was able actually to beat Brennan out there on yellow lane. This is exactly what Landon needed. Of course, Brennan also taking a hit to Landon there on blue lane, as he suffered a couple hits there, a couple wrecks on blue. This is not what Brennan's wanting to see, as the pressure starting to mount between him and Landon. Just 0.7 average laps difference between the two. But Brennan in the best position here, as he's going to take his lower lanes now as his final two. And like I said, it's basically Brennan is going to have to turn better than 56 and 53 on these. And that's not an easy feat to do, as those are the highest turned for tonight. But we'll see what happens. Basically, Landon's just going to have to run his lane if he wants to be able to get the win out of this and come from the very bottom. We'll see what happens with these two as we progress a little bit further. Lane's already out there. He's already ready. A minute 24 seconds. I'll be right back with you.
I'll be right back.
My wife snuck in on me. I didn't even see her pass me. But all these racers tonight, Peyton, Callie, Brennan, Cassie, Landon, Lane, Clay, Marley, every single one of them been racing their hearts out. And all of them just, in my book, really, really done well. You know, it's good to win. I will say that. It's good to win. But you can get a whole lot more from losing than you can winning. That's something I know for sure, especially in my life. Because, you know, losing's temporary, but once you start getting things lined up, you know, winning it comes natural after you take a lot of losses. So, you know, it's good for these kids to get a little bit hard when it comes to losing. It'll help them to want to push there and do better the next time. But like I said, every one of these kids really putting in a great effort. You know, 2-second average lap times. You know, just a few tenths off of what of our adults race. You know, and I appreciate that light. As we head back, we got the 4 lights, and they're going to drop out Formula One style, and these kids are going to go back racing. It's all on Brennan. Can he turn that, I believe it's 55 laps on purple? He's got to turn 55 laps here at the very least to hold on to this lead. Can Landon aggressively turn on orange and turn even more on orange? We see Landon's car just really hooked up tonight. Just the perfect amount of loose. He's currently dodging quite a few of these wrecks. Both him and Brennan both having a really good night tonight. Clay also, Lane for the first or second time he's raced, circle track race, and doing really well also. Callie down there, she's running a house car, and Cassie is also. Marley having a little bit of issues, and Peyton also having a little issues. This happens in racing. I'm sure they'll get them kinks worked out and come back strong even the next time. But like I said, we take a look up here in your top left screen. We got Brennan there with 1.97 as his median, right at 2 seconds. Everybody else is 2 seconds. Our outlier here being Clay currently on white, which is to be expected to be in the higher 2 point something second laps because he's on white. But Marley turned an impressive 2.33 there on red lane. So she's really hauling the mail there on red for sure. Marley really likes to let it hang out there on red lane. Every time I've ever seen her run red, the last time she was running in a race, we had a race here, I think it was a rookie race or something. She ended up winning, and I remember her car was just dragging the back. The only other person I ever seen actually have the whole back of the car drag the outer wall there was Nathaniel Burden, and he got a nickname called the Land Barge because that back end of his car kept dragging. But very, very rare to see cars be able to hang on in that dead man's corner after they scrape. But they were able to actually scrape and move on. So. So we go back green racing here. We see Callie still enjoying herself down there on black. Or Cassie, I'm sorry, not Callie. Having a little bit of trouble getting Callie's car put back in on yellow, but was able to get it in there. Landon turning respectable 28 laps. 2.19, very low for orange. Brennan really trying his best to get to that 55 lap marker to be able to tie Landon on the lower lanes. You should see these two boys. We got Brennan about to chew a hole in one of his cords on his hoodie, and we got Landon over there with that fish just hard as it can be inside his pouch of his hoodie. These boys are going for it. So we get several cars come off there. It looks like one of our track marshals, Neil, possibly about lost a finger there. he sprung up pretty quick. Some of these cars come around there pretty quick. You just don't notice it. And especially when they cluster up like that, it can be somewhat daunting. I've been hit a few times myself, left with a bruise or two. My wife, she's left with a couple bruises. Some of them got quite a bit of weight to them also. That cluster keeps getting bigger and bigger. It's almost like a galaxy rolling around that dead man's corner, filled with all these kids' cars, and every one of them just trying to get that little bit of an inch that they can in front of each other. And I mean, just one tiny tap's all it takes. That tap is just enough to make those cars send sailing right into each other. We all know that. It won't be long before we see it again. Callie's somewhat having some issues with the track car there on yellow as it keeps popping out there in the same spot on yellow. Not really struggled so much in the middle lanes tonight, Callie. She's kind of been middle of the field, like Lane, not really having too many issues when it comes to coming out, but on average being involved in more of the incidents that take place. See a full sin there. Happened there off of orange lane. Landon just full sent it up there into red lane. Into Marley. Maybe some of the nerves are clicking off there for Landon as he sees Brennan very, very closely approaching that 55 lap marker. 25 seconds left to go. We see Landon messing with his controller. What's going on there? Got a stalled car there at the bottom. There it goes. Ooh, we got a car coming through the beginning of Dead Man's Corner, right across the start-finish line there. And that dude was on its lid through the exit. Landing off again there on orange. Definitely not what he's been wanting to see. Involving quite a few wrecks here on orange. Probably orange, for the most part, I see with Landon. It's kind of one of those Achilles heels for him. Uh, Most part, he runs low lanes like better than anybody I've ever seen. It's towards the upper parts of the track. Struggles just a little bit. Running the middle lanes, not always the funnest thing to run, especially on a tri-oval, as they tend to be somewhat of the easier lanes to run. So guys try to push themselves on the black, the purple, and the red lanes. As we get several people pressing the buttons there at once, we get a multiple red flag happening. But that is the end of the heat, and we can see that Brennan was able to come out 3 laps ahead of Landon. So basically taking those laps back that he lost from Landon there in the blue lane. So it's still going to be pretty tight. As we see, it's within 8 laps here. Now that can be made up, and it could be pressed, but it's more likely that there's going to be a battle between Clay and Landon here in the last heat than between Landon and Brendan, as Brendan had such a success there in the purple lane. That just tells me that having that kind of success in the purple lane is probably going to net him quite a big success there in black lane also. So we'll see how it goes. Anything can happen, of course. Cars could blow up. Somebody could get bent real bad, get involved in several incidents. It's really a toss-up. We'll see what happens. Let's go here to the oval cam here. We see Marley up there already ready to roll. We also see Lane. He's biting at the bit to do some more circle track racing. Lane currently in 5th place. Or in 4th place, I'm sorry. Right after this, we'll be having a drag race at 6:30. And, of course, it is a 10-person or 10-car, I'm sorry, not 10-person. 10-car limit drag, $5 entry, $3 buyback in the first round. Reason we have a first round buyback is we also have a first round light where you got to try your best to get the best reaction time. So that causes a lot of people to red light. And if you do get the light, it's $1 from everyone that enters. And then also, we have a payout of 60% for first, second, and third. "20 seconds, the race will be underway." You see Landon there messing with his controller a little bit. Mara there next to him. Callie's car there on orange lane right out of the gate. Very, very quick, aggressive. Callie used to run in the IndyCar class. She ran to IndyCar here and raced with the guys. I think she ended up getting 3rd place against some of the guys that were from Tennessee, White House. They come down, and one of the guys from White House rented one also, and I think he got 1st place that day. So it was something to see them. Callie, Tom, a few others, and anyways, Callie really put in a show. She used my IndyCar that I had set up, and I had it all decked out with the best stuff that I could possibly put in it, and she did really, really well. So. Ooh, as we get a car coming off there at the end of Dead Man's Corner, Neil narrowly snagged that dude out of the sky, but just a little bit from snagging it out. There we go with the big cluster up again. These kids love running in a pack for sure. Ooh, as we get a hard hit there. That was Peyton's car that took that hard hit up into the High Banks corner. He'll get put on, slotted in pretty close there with Landon on white. Clay trying to draw the line into sand here between him and Landon. Currently a 2.77 median, turning one more lap currently than Landon, but they're neck and neck with each other for sure. Landon just narrowly missing an incident that took place there on the upper high banks of the corner of red and white. Lane there in fourth place, 20 laps down from third place, pretty much separating the field. Callie within 3 or 4 laps from Lane. Each one of these kids, like I said, we got a separation of the field about midway, where there's several laps difference between them, but everybody fighting for what position they can get and also just having a great time. We see all these kids laughing, cutting up, just being kids. It's good to be a kid for sure. See Paul Woosley there, hard at work there in the high bank corners, as he has had several issues there tonight, as cars coming out of the crook of the track, sending her all the way up to the top. Ooh, as we see Peyton come in there full send, and he ended up collecting right up against Cassie, who is still on her fun journey for tonight. Cassie's car puts another meaning to Like a Rock for sure, and she went around that corner and her car didn't budge, but it sent Peyton's car flying there off purple for sure. Brennan Dant, 394 laps in the lead, by about 20 or so laps, as Landon kind of somewhat had to fall off here towards the end as he's up on the higher lanes. Brennan having a spectacular last heat, netting him a lap or two. Changed the game for sure, as Brennan now on black, turning very impressive quick laps, just like Landon did. For the most part, 1 minute left to go. Unless something catastrophic happens, you're probably looking at your first, second, and third place here. Another yellow flag there, 47 seconds left to go. Oh, we get a track call and a hard collision there with the red car of, I believe, Brennan there on black. He was coming around there flying as the car lanes kind of just wilted out of blue and kind of fell towards the bottom of the track. It was a pretty good solid hit there in the side. Hope everybody stays safe this New Year's and doesn't do anything too crazy. Of course, here at Lanes Raceway, you're looking at what we're doing. Having a good time racing slot cars. And after this is all said and done, I think Glenn Burden told me I'm not getting out of here till midnight, that we're planning on playing some Godzilla to ring in the new year. So we'll see what happens there. I might have to show Glenn who the real King of Tokyo is. That's me. I'm the King of Tokyo. But we'll see. We see Glenn Burden there pointing the finger over there, giving kids good direction, letting them know where they need to let off, most likely. Yeah, that's what he's doing. I see that trigger finger of Glenn. He's trying to help them not wreck their cars as much. Glenn's always a good help here at Lanes Raceway. We love Glenn. Glenn's been a part of the family as long as I can remember. He's always helped my brother. He's wearing the Kirtley 7 racing shirt. That was my brother's number back whenever he raced dirt. And I guess you would say between him and Dad, they were the shared crew chief, I guess you would say. They was always with Gabriel through the thick and the thin and the rough and the dirty. So, you know, Glenn's always been there. Good guy, always tries to help people. And the only person I've ever met in slot car racing that if you're faster than him, every single time he will let you go by. Unless your name is Gabriel Kirtley. If your name is Gabriel Curley, he's going to wipe you out. I need to quit giving myself the chuckles. But it is true. He does have a rivalry with Gabe. 17 seconds left to go. Looks like Brennan's going to be your leader. After this is said and done, we'll probably have Brennan come in here and draw from the hat to see who gets to take home old Checkers mobile. So Checkers went back to the North Pole. He wanted to leave the kids because he was a track elf, as they call him. And he wanted to leave the kids something nice. His stay here in Livermore was very nice, and the kids took care of him. One of the only elves that you could actually touch without having to throw a big bunch of cinnamon or something like that on him, I was told. As we see Landon there and Brennan are top two involved in an incident there. Let me get to you. Give me 1 second, y'all. Be right back with you. Biggest I got is a 44, and that's a 332nd.
Am I getting that right? Let's take off from more top end. I'm gonna go smaller with it. Or small ratio.
Smaller with the ratio for more top end.
I want a smaller. I got a 52 on it. That's gonna be a dramatic change there.
Yeah, you can be hauling mail with that pin.
But it'll slow it down on takeoff, right?
So, but it'll increase your top end.
But I am, that's the second one year I've stripped out.
Yeah, that's why I'm liking it.
I don't. Let me try one of those. Cheaper anyway. I guess it's on that one. They didn't go in there.
332nd.
Yeah, I have to go with
332nd, actually. Fine. Not an 18.
They won't work. Or will it? That's 18. I can't.
Won't go on 18 to 332nd.
Well, I gotta go ahead.
Yeah, get your car. Let me
Go back to the racing. Go to racing.
I need pictures. Brennan, Landon, and Chloe.
I need to bring it here too when you get done. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we had a pretty big drop frame there detected in our stream. But that's it, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, Brennan takes home first place with 430 laps. Landon second place, 397, and close behind him, Clay Brown with 393. All of our racers here tonight did an exceptional job. Thank you for that like. Coming up here in just a few moments, I'm going to have Brennan, our race winner, come in here live on the camera to draw from the cap to see who's going to take home this beautiful elf green Womp Womp. That Womp Womp was Checkers, the track elf's vehicle here at Lanes Raceway. Of course, he had to drive a smaller car because he's a smaller individual. So we'll be having Brennan, if you would. Let me shake this up here. Brennan, our champion over here for the kids' New Year's race. Will you, without looking, put your hand in there? That's Brennan right there. Put your hand in there and draw us a tag out. Just one. All right, tell us who it is, Brennan.
Kelvin Casinger.
Kelvin Casinger will be tonight's winner of the Checkers mobile.
Ain't he here?
I think Kelvin is actually here. But anyways, that's all we have for you tonight. If you are in the general vicinity of McLean County or Livermore area, stop by. We're fixing to have a drag race here at 6:30. The guys are getting ready now. If you wanted to enter into that drag race, come on by. Also, stay tuned for the series. If you want to get in that, it's going to be a split series, 4-inch and 4.5-inch GRC truck series. Of course, tonight, Brennan will be automatically entered into the GRC truck series for his win here tonight in the kids' race. And thank you, and have a great New Year's, and stay safe out there.
Wait, don't do that.
What?
Kelvin's here.
Okay.
Get in his car.